Greetings from the underworld. This is your host, Carl Cactus Warmouth, and you're listening to Thinker Stinker, where guests bring one film that makes them think and one they say stinks. This episode's thinker is Tampopo, the 1985 Japanese food comedy directed by Juzo Itami. The film sees a widow, Tampopo, enlist the help of a cowboy trucker to improve her ramen business. The stinker is Edgar Wright's 2014 Baby Driver, which follows a music-loving wheelman through a handful of heists in Atlanta. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy. I would like to welcome Japanese drummer and fashion scholar Alex Behr. How's it going, Alex?
Hey man, it's going good.
So your thinker was Tampopo.
It's got everything. I mean, it's got suspense, it's got noodles, it's got fist fights, it's got romance. I mean, it's really about the ramen shop, Tampopo, but there's so many little vignettes that, I mean, there's so many that the ones I remember the most, I think are definitely like the salaryman scene where they eat the French. That's probably my favorite one. And then the second, maybe close second, is like the dying mother. But there's so many that I forgot, but it's kind of interesting how it everything kind of segues cleanly into each other. They're just all characters that aren't connected except by happenstance and by the fact that they're all eating food. And it kind of I like how the movie just explores every aspect of food.
Yeah, it opens with one of those really strong vignettes too. It's the guy in the movie theater, and he's griping about people's snacking habits in theaters and how it's a distraction. And a guy a couple rows behind him is crinkling a bag of potato chips, and he goes right up to him, gets in his face, says, "I'll kill you if you do this," when the film starts. And I think any movie fan can kind of resonate with that. I'm not saying it. We have those murderous impulses, but if someone's slurping an empty soda in a movie theater during a climactic scene,
Yeah, that's also interesting. It's kind of weird if you think of the movie's kind of framed as a movie within a movie, and that's where they introduce the gangster and his lover, and they're actually recurring characters, but it's interesting because they don't have anything to do with the main plot. They're just a side characters, but they're also aware that they kind of are viewing the movie that you're viewing, and it's kind of cool because you open it, it's they say, "Oh, you're in a movie theater too." So if you were watching a theater, you'd be like, "Oh wow." That's one of the only movies where I see an actual, what do you call it? Every movie theater has that little thing that says no eating, no talking in the movie, but that's probably the most effective PSA I've ever seen. It's in the freaking plot. It's part of the story.
Well, and also in a movie that's largely about etiquette, it seems more than appropriate.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I don't know. The humor is kind of specific sometimes to Japan, but it's kind of just based around etiquette in general. Maybe that makes it kind of relatable.
So is this really a Western, or is that just clever marketing?
It was marketed as a noodle Western, or I'm not sure if that's what the director came up with or if that's just a term that stuck, but I mean, it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek expression, obviously a riff off spaghetti Western. But, there are definitely elements from Westerns that are in this movie. I mean, it takes place in the 80s, but you could see Goro and Gun, I guess. I mean, they're truckers, but they're kind of a modern-day analog to the cowboy, right? I mean, instead of a horse, that cowboy. And the kind of inciting incident in the movie is they go into a ramen, and I think they enter, they have their hat, he has his hat on, he has a cowboy hat, he dresses kind of like John Wayne. He even wears his hat in the back. It's funny. And then they have a fight, it's to me, that's oh, it's kind of a saloon brawl.
And there's kind of an immediate stare down. That's very reminiscent of a Western, and certainly the costume design.
Yeah, Goro's got this kind of 80s cowboy getup. I think it's awesome. Because he's always got a handkerchief on, but he's a trucker dude. He's so cool in that movie.
Yeah, he's got the bandana, he's got the cigarette, and then he's got the Clint Eastwood hat.
He's got the demeanor of yeah, he's kind of a Clint Eastwood type with that kind of detached, kind of has a moral compass, but it's sort of detached because of past trauma that he gets into because his wife and kids left him. But he's he's a manly man, and he's stoic. One of the key points in the movie is there's this drunkard dude who's the childhood friend of Tampopo, the ramen shop lady. It's a 5v1 fight in the beginning, but then he comes up to him again. And he's "Oh, that was unfair of me. I'll give you a fair shot this time. Let's go 1v1 under this bridge." And it's this kind of
Right. The scene really sticks out in how it's shot because there's a long take under the bridge where you just see their silhouettes. Yeah. And it's kind of vibrant in the background too, where you see the skyline.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that like it really stands out. You know, it reminds me, even though this is a later film, of the fist fight in They Live, the John Carpenter film.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. It kind of is, yeah, and it's whereas They Live, it's like two guys that are friends fighting. Like in this movie, they fight, and then that's like through violence they like respect each other.
I like the Hitchcockian scene where she's spying on another shop owner's broth making method.
I love that shot where like she tries to buy this secret recipe from this like dude at the Chinese noodle shop, and he's like, "Oh no, no way! You got to give me like 1 million yen." And then this other guy takes her side. It's like, "No, don't give it to him." He bets on. I don't know. Okay, this is weird. I don't know if the subtitles are kind of bad in this movie. It said like he's crazy about horses, but what he actually says is he's crazy about boat racing. I don't know. Maybe Westerners don't know that people gamble on boat racing. Anyway, Chinese shop owner is like, I'll take you to like show you the secret, and he takes her to the back of his like little fucking tchotchke shop. He's like, what is? It's like there's like this suspenseful music. It's like the tone shifts dramatically, but it works.
The psycho shot.
Yeah, it is. She's like, what? This is no place to learn how to make soup. And then the reveal is that there's like the little peephole the view into the kitchen, and she like watches the cook, and it's kind of eerie. Like she like the look she like has all these expressions on her face that they shoot from the side. It's really I think it's really cool.
All right, how about the egg scene?
The best egg scene in the history of cinema.
I would struggle to come up with a ranked list off the top of my head, but
Yeah, the egg scene is like I saw this movie when I was like a kid, and I mean that's like the second sex scene in the movie, right? I feel
yes,
like.
it is. Yeah, the first one they have some kind of shellfish prawn, right?
I don't understand what's going on, but okay, I used to think the prawn was alive, but actually what's going on, it's like they put this is like a thing they do in some restaurants. If you can like put soy sauce on like octopus or like shrimp, and the salt in the soy sauce will like activate the nerves or the muscles. I don't know the specifics, but then it'll start moving, and it's like it's alive. So what this guy does, he takes like a prawn, gets a plastic bowl, and like fills it with soy sauce, and like traps the prawn on her belly button, and the shrimp starts moving around, and it just like it tickles her, and it's like I gotta say that's like one of the most creative expressions of eroticism in a movie, and I think it's actually I think it's done well. I don't know, some people that I've showed the movie to say like, oh, that's part I can't get with that part. I'm just like,
Well, that's the other thing is the closing shot that the credits roll over is of a woman breastfeeding, and I think that interrogates that, like people's suspicions towards those scenes.
I mean, it kind of goes without saying, like when you're born, obviously, you have to be nourished, you have to eat. But it's like, I mean, one of your first experiences as a human is going to be, I mean, probably being breastfed by your mother, and that's kind of like it's not about just nourishment. It's about developing like a relationship. It's about bonding, and like food is very much. It's not just about food. Is never just about food. It's about social dynamics, and it's about class, and it's about all these things, and it's about life and death. And I believe that's like the main point of the movie, where it's just about food, and I think that's beautiful.
Any closing remarks?
I feel like okay, this goes back to like the sex scenes and stuff. I feel like the movie is airtight, including that part, but you have to like I guess I have to address like the one weird thing that I've always known, even when I was like, like little and I watched me, like what stuck out, the relationship between the gangster and his girlfriend. They keep coming up. They're great characters. The weird thing is that I'm pretty sure like when they met, it seems like the relationship's like pedophilic. I don't know. That's like the one thing that you kind of
The oyster scene.
yeah, the oyster scene, because like that happens right. It's funny because that they have the egg scene, they're making out the egg, and then after that, they cut, and it's I guess intended to be like a flashback from the gangster's perspective, where he reminisces on when he met his lover, and it's the actor is like the same age, and he meets like the girl, but she's played by like a younger actress, like to show that like it's in the past. But she's clearly like somewhere around 15, I think, and he's like I don't know, maybe could be in his 20s or could be his 30s, and she's an oyster diver. They call that actually amasan. There's actually a lot of those in Japan. Like traditionally, women and girls dive for oysters. Anyway, he like gets the oyster and she shucks it for him, and then when he eats the oyster, he cuts his lip and then he starts bleeding, and then she's like, oh, here, let me help you, and then she lets him eat from her hand, and they have this like weird shot, the blood dropping the oyster, and then they cut to him, right, and then like she kisses him on the mouth. But no one, I don't know why, I can't find any record of anyone like talking about it. Everybody seemed to love the movie when it came out. Did people just not care about Maybe
I don't even know if I caught that one my first time watching this movie. And when I rewatched it today, I was absolutely thinking about that. She looks so young.
yeah.
Like she looks like a little girl.
Yeah.
Honestly, she looked younger than 15 to
Yeah.
me.
I mean,
Well, speaking of pedophilia, your stinker was Baby Driver, which has Kevin Spacey in it. That was an irresistible segue.
that was an amazing segue. Oh my god.
So why do you hate Baby Driver, Alex?
I feel like maybe it's because of the way the characters are written. It's like there's parts where I can clearly see like there's some clever editing and stuff, and I'm like, I know I'm supposed to feel excited about these parts in the movie, but I just don't, and I find the movie uninteresting and boring. And I don't know, maybe you could help me out because I don't see what everyone else sees in the movie.
Your problem is that you have taste. I mean, that's the easiest way I can put it. It is frustrating because you want it to be good. You want it to be like Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the
Yeah.
Dead. This film is drowning in unclever cultural references and in the process drowns you in them. I don't need to hear extensive Barbara Streisand or Dolly Parton references. It's not interesting.
When you said Hot Fuzz, and I mean it's an Edgar Wright movie, and like you must also thought this like when you're watching a movie, I'm like thinking, I wish I was just watching Hot Fuzz right now because Hot Fuzz does everything that this movie does. I mean, except the music part because it doesn't do that stupid music gag or whatever that gimmick at all.
It's almost more of like a cheap music video than a film at points. Bad enough that the dialogue was written by an especially dim-witted 13-year-old.
Um,
It's like when he's lip syncing along to the songs, it's
yeah.
aggravating. We get it. He's not like the other boys. He listens to music. He's never developed.
Like when they introduce a love interest, who by the way is severely underdeveloped, and that's like one of the biggest flaws in the movie. When they introduce her, what is she? She has like this line. It just made me roll my eyes so hard. She was like, "I want to get on the interstate, head west in a car I can't afford, plan that I don't have, or something like that." And I just like,
Right.
who the hell talks like this? It's like if Guy Ritchie directed a Lana Del Rey music video and it was only focus grouped to like 14-year-old Tumblr users.
No, I take incredible issue with the romance plot in this film. It really does feel like it's like an incel character for incel viewers to resonate with. And then lo and behold, he's put in the position of being impossibly suave in front of an attractive waitress. And inevitably, there's going to be some kid who's like, oh, I'm just going to do that. I'll be like perfectly charming. Everything I'll say will come out, as smooth as possible. And she's like immediately infatuated with him, and it contradicts this idea that like he's laconic and mysterious because
Yeah,
the movie spends so much time emphasizing that that's who he is. It never builds a persona for him. It tells you what his persona is.
yeah, that's so true. And like, the backstory part, it's like, oh, we have to tell the audience that he's broken and that there's a reason why he's acting this way. Like he's a criminal because and he's tinnitus because his mom was like a country singer or something and his dad was abusive and they got in a fight and then the car accident happened. Now he's traumatized. But it's like it's shoved in your face. It's like it's telling me what to feel, but it's not really showing me what to feel. And I know that's like a cliche and like movie criticism, but that's really what the movie's problem is, I think. And
I feel like it's fair to employ some cliches in movie criticism when you have such a cliche movie to critique.
oh yeah, definitely. And like it's kind of interesting when you think about how can a movie be so. It seems like the movie is simultaneously made to appeal to two incompatible and equally suffering, like young person archetypes. And I mean, it's kind of like you said, it's like Ansel Elgort character is like a doomer incel, and like some dudes would probably be like, "Oh yeah, I listen to Led Zeppelin. I'm awkward, so that's literally me." And then
I
like
know who the Beach Boys are.
yeah,
I have a damn song on my iPod. Like, okay, cool, whatever.
it kind of feels like it's appealing to like the 2012 Wattpad Tumblr like types that think they're like not like the other girls because like the soundtrack is like all kind of quote unquote oldies and like the girl is like spunky and she just wants to get out of that small diner and go out, but she has no character. And obviously, I think Ansel Elgort is. I mean, I don't know about the time, but I mean, he's like always cast as like a heartthrob character, right? I think that's maybe why the movie's popular. I mean, not that that's bad. I mean, that's how movies are. You cast like boyish type.
You know what this movie's trying to be?
What?
It's trying, not exactly, but at least through its protagonist, trying to be like Drive and Nightcrawler, where it has a kind of on the spectrum character in a world of crime, and unlike Ryan Gosling's performance or Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, this is just not it. Well, I mean, while we're on it, you can pick apart every single character in this movie. There
Yeah.
isn't a good character. There's not one. His foster dad, underwritten, underdeveloped. John Hamm and girlfriend or wife, like,
Obnoxious.
obnoxious. Everything. Deborah, bait for the incels.
I think it's really the script, and I think Edgar Wright. He wrote this, right?
And it was apparently a passion project that he had worked on for quite some time.
Fortunate. I mean, I think the movie could have been something if the dialogue wasn't just that shit. Because like I can see that like Jamie Foxx is like really putting in the work in, but it's just like I can't like it because he just comes off as like this. I think Edgar Wright was thinking, oh, I'm gonna write these characters like this crazy asshole character, but
That role is so wasted on Jamie Foxx because he's such a talent. I think there's something vomitous to how it's shot also, because there's this kind of nauseating roaming camera that continues after heist sequences. Like, you'll have a lot of rapid editing during a chase. Sure, that makes sense. That's appropriate.
yeah.
But when you have the same kind of restlessness in a diner scene, it's really, you need a change of pace after a while. And instead, the zigs and zags continue with baby's every whim.
Like sure they edit it so like the gunshots match the music, and that's just lame to me.
The
Yeah.
cultural references, man. We
Oh.
talked about the music, but there's movie references within this. And again, it's all just your most entry level normie stuff. You got Fight Club on the TV that he's watching. Perfect. Because anybody who likes Baby Driver worships Fight Club. There's okay. They say they're going to get Michael Myers Halloween masks, and instead they get Austin Powers masks. Two more references that nobody needs. He works for Goodfellas Pizza, another
Yeah.
reference nobody needs. It's like it was going through the film bro canon and just tossing references that people who had the disposition to like this movie were gonna like go, oh wow, I like Fight Club and I like Goodfellas, so this movie's for me. It's a reference I'm picking up on. And then we have a random Flea appearance where he plays a guy called No Nose, who upon being asked what happens to his nose, says, that's a no nose, no, page 1.
Oh my god, yeah, that was so. I totally forgot that like Flea
What?
was in the movie. And
Yeah, what like juvenile delinquent writes this shit?
I know, right? It's seriously, it's like a kid wrote this.
And it's like a kid did the costume design. Oh, they're criminals and bank robbers, so we'll slap some throat tattoos on them. Done. Oh,
Yeah.
and now we'll have someone pontificate about the use of color in this film.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie Foxx is wearing red, so clearly he's got a different type of personality.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
It's just a weird caricature of a criminal, and the costume design kind of harkens, and the editing. It feels like Suicide Squad in the way it's presented.
It does feel like Suicide Squad.
I sum up this movie basically saying it's like the reason why it's popular, I believe, is because it appeals to those like 14-year-olds and appeals to like boomers and Gen Xers, because they can watch the movie like, oh look, there's that song by Dave Brubeck that's in 7/8. Like, oh my god, there's Lionel Richie. Oh my god, there's but like the use of songs in the movie is just so it kind of almost ruins the songs for me. Tarantino with less
Right,
subtle.
it's like Tarantino in that it thinks it's being incredibly genius and underground in the references that it makes. And in turn, the people who pick up new songs and perhaps even movies from Baby Driver are going to think like, wow, like, look, I've just been turned on to, Pet Sounds because it shows up in this fucking, like, that's always what's so bothersome.
This movie is like, bro, I got that reference to the movie.
And listen, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with like, okay, whatever. If you learned about a band through this movie, like, cool, go listen to that band. But there is something wrong with the like discernible put on that people have that they're gonna be like super hip for knowing about this shit, when in actuality they have like a super narrow cultural radar.
Yeah, just
It's ghastly.
obnoxious.
All right, I don't think anyone's gonna have the misconception that we like this movie, so best to leave it behind us. Alex, It's been a blast having you on. I had
Same.
fun talking about these films. And hell yeah. And that's it for today. Sorry about all that ranting and raving, but sometimes you just gotta let it out. I hear rattlesnakes slithering into the house, folks, so I really best be off. Peace out.